driving your anger? A lot of us feel anger is a dangerous emotion. Anger often gets vilified. If you come from a traumatic background like I do, where I was raised by a very abusive narcissistic mother and a psychotic schizophrenic father, anytime they got angry, I was filled with fear. Because often when my mother was angry at me, she severely abused me. She would whip me with metal spatulas, leaving bleeding welts on me. My father, when he got angry, he'd go into psychotic rages and break things. And my mother would break my toys when she got angry. So anger was like a danger. Anger spelled danger to me. I was frightened. I was full of dread and fear. We're going to talk about anger today. We're going to dispel some of the myths about it, what we can do about it, how it drives us to act, how it shames us, how often we are taught not to express it. I could never express my anger when I was younger, how we repress it, how we have guilt over it. Anger is a very powerful emotion, and a lot of people don't deal with it well. A lot of people are put off by it. If someone is sad, they get empathy, they get hugs. But if someone is angry, people back off, people stay away, they're afraid. So what's driving this anger? Let's talk about this emotion, anger, today. Hi, my name is Sandra Wyllie. This is my mental health channel. And here I talk about my own personal struggles, having borderline personality disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and depression. I talk about narcissism and my narcissistic mother. I talk about schizophrenia and about autism and traumatic brain injury that my son Alex has. I wrote a childhood memoir, Life with My Schizophrenic Father, up here. I talk about all my unethical psychologists who I've had sexual relationships with, who SA'd me, who I brought to licensing boards and got lawyers. And I come on here too as a patient advocate so you don't have to feel alone in your struggles with mental health. But I am not a licensed therapist. I do not hold a degree in psychology, so I cannot diagnose you or give you a professional opinion. And all I ask in turn of you is your kindness and respect in the comments and honesty, please. Now, think about emotions. Emotions are information. They're trying to tell you something. What is your anger trying to tell you? A lot of times, the anger will try to tell me that people are treating me unfairly, people are disrespecting me. Like, for instance, me and my husband were driving to pick up our handicapped son who was brutally beaten. I did other videos about that. We see him now 4 times a week. We try to take him out as much as we can because he's not in a day hab program anymore because they severely beat him in his last one. So now he's just like sitting in bed all day doing nothing. So we were on our way to take him to the park and to take him out for ice cream sundae at 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃, his favorite place. And there was a bunch of teenagers because it's summer now and kids are out of school and they don't get jobs anymore. They just hang out on the streets in my neighborhood. And they were playing basketball. My husband approaches and he can't get past them. There's like a group of half dozen of them in parked cars on one side. So my husband waits there. And one of these kids, the other kids went over to the side so my husband could get by, but one of them didn't. One of them kept dribbling and shooting baskets. And I'm like, it really made me angry. He sees my husband and me in the car. He sees he needs to move out of the way. This is a kid that's probably 16, 17 years old. He's not a little kid. He's old enough to have a job, actually, during the summer. And he just looks at my husband like that. And he keeps dribbling and shooting baskets. And I say, honk the horn. Honk the horn. I mean, I would have honked the horn. We were waiting there a while. And when he felt like it, then he moved aside. But he showed us no respect. We weren't treated fairly. We were disrespected. He didn't do us the courtesy of, he saw that we needed to get by to go visit our son. We needed to get by, to get out of our street. And he was blocking the street. So this got me very angry. I'm still angry over it. And I'm saying, why am I still angry over this fucking kid? A lot of people call angry women Karens. It's terrible. I have a subscriber here named Karen. I don't know why they use that name Karen. I'm really sorry about that. I don't think that's fair that they use that name Karen as a older, bitchy, complaining woman. I don't know why they picked that name. I'm really sorry that they did for the Karen who subscribes to me. But I think that why I still carry that anger from yesterday afternoon, like when that kid wouldn't get out of the street, when he saw my husband was waiting and waiting and waiting, he still kept playing basketball. I mean, eventually he did. It's because it triggered something from my childhood, It triggered, disrespecting me. He disrespected us, an elderly couple trying to, get by the street. He had no respect for us. He didn't give a shit that we were trying to get somewhere. And he was being very rude, self-centered, and I guess it triggered me because I do have complex post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood. When my mother disrespected me, crossed all my boundaries, and I guess I was triggered by that. Sometimes you don't even know that you're triggered by something that happened years and years ago in your past, in your childhood. For instance, I talked about before, and I even read a poem about the young kids on my street, how they, make so much noise, and I have to put headphones on to block out their sound, but it also blocks out the sound of the beautiful birds chirping and the robins splashing and fluttering in my bird bath. And, I just, I can't hear nature, which brings me inner peace and joy and tranquility. And so I get very angry at that because they're disrupting my peace. Now, as I was at the laundromat, last week, there was these young kids around the same age probably as the kids on my street. And they were running around and screaming and, getting in the way of me trying to carry the laundry in and put it in the machine. But I wasn't affected by them. And I asked myself, why was I so angry at the kids on my street for screaming and, disrupting my peace? But when I was at the laundromat, I wasn't angry at the kids doing the exact same thing. And then I realized it's because when I was at the laundromat, I was in control. I put my clothes in the washing machine, and then I could walk out and sit in my car and not have to listen to those kids, So I could walk out. But when those kids on my street are tearing around and screaming and acting up, I'm in my home, I could go for a walk, but I'm drinking at that time. That's when I have my wine. It's around 5 o'clock, 4:45. That's when I have my wine and get dinner ready. So it's not a good time for me to leave my home and go for a walk when I'm trying to get dinner ready and I'm drinking wine to unwind. I drink wine to unwind. So it's not really a good time. So I feel trapped. I feel like a bird, a caged bird, a bird in a cage, caged, because I feel like, I can't, this is my home. I can't leave. I have to wear headphones. And even with the headphones, I can still hear them. I have to go, I have to leave my deck and go into the house in my husband's study. My husband's office is furthest away from where they play out in the street. And that's the only way I can get peace. but it's uncomfortable sitting in the chair in his study. I can't be outside. I can't listen to the birds. I have to wear these headphones, and I feel invaded. I feel like they're crossing their boundaries, you know? But when I was in the laundromat, I felt like I could leave. I could just put the clothes in and then just walk out of there, and I didn't have to hear those kids. So I was in control. I had a choice. But when the kids on my street are screaming and running around, I'm not in control. I don't have a choice. I'm in my home. So I feel trapped, you know, and I'm making dinner. So it's not a good time for me to go for a walk or anything. And so it's all about, you know, not having a choice. They're taking the choice away from me, crossing my boundaries, interrupting my peace. So that's the information that my anger is telling me, all right? So I need to listen, you know. I need to say, okay, emotions are information. Anger is information. What information is my anger trying to tell me? And if I listen well, I'd say that it's telling me I'm being disrespected by those teenagers, not moving out of the way, playing basketball. I'm being, my boundaries are interrupted, my peace, when I'm trying to relax at the end of my day. You know, they're imputing their rights to have fun over my rights to have tranquility and quiet and peace and listen to nature. And it's so I just recognize that this is what's happening. That's the first step to do. When you feel rage and anger like I did, I start swearing, I start screaming, and I said, oh, Jesus Christ, now I can't sit in my living room because, like I said, the wall to where my couch is right, the street is like on top of it. There's no front yard, like a stamp is my front yard. And then so I had to leave. I had to go in my husband's study. I had to put on big headphones. It's not comfortable, the chairs in the study there. And I just felt like intruded upon, infringed. And I expressed that. I expressed that to my husband. I expressed that to my son. Suppressed anger will only make you explode. It will give you cancer. It will give you heart disease. It will give you an aneurysm. It will give you a stroke. You can't suppress all that anger and hold it in, So I expressed it. I said, I'm upset. I have to move again. I have to move myself into my husband's study. I have to wear these big headphones. They're huge to drown out all the sound. And I don't like it. I don't like that their fun and play impedes on my peace and tranquility, especially when I'm going through so much stress in my life. I'm under tremendous stress lately. My husband's been out of work. I've talked about this before. My son was brutally beaten. I got to get a lawyer now and go after that who attacked him. I'm trying to take my son out every day because he has no place to go now because we took him out of the place he was beaten in. So now we have to entertain him. It's so I just want a little bit, just a tiny bit of peace. That's all I asked for. Is that too much, And one subscriber said, no, it isn't too much, but it also isn't too much for the kids to play, and scream and yell and be kids. So I thought I liked that subscriber's answer because she understood both sides of the coin, She understood the kids have a right to play and be kids, and I have a right for my peace and tranquility. So how do you balance all that? Well, just I'm doing the best I can by expressing how I'm feeling, not denying how I'm feeling, expressing it through poetry, which is a great way. I can't tell you, journaling, you don't have to be a poet, all right, to journal. Just journal, writing, talking it out with someone, doing YouTube videos about it. It's helpful. It's helpful to say, I feel this way, and someone acknowledging, yes, you do feel this way, that you do have a right to your peace and tranquility, especially all that you're going through in your life. You do. And just by someone acknowledging that, and me being able to express that, is helpful. It is helpful. Even when that subscriber wrote, and she told me that, I have a right to my peace as much as they have a right to play on their street. It's my street too. But so it's a balancing act, and it's I'm still trying to deal with it, and I will tell you more and more each day that goes by how well I'm dealing with it. My husband synced up my headphones to my laptop now, so I will be wearing those, putting up the volume high, and then I can, work on my laptop and hear, only be able to hear what's on my laptop, whatever I'm doing, whether I'm doing listening to a YouTube video, or, listening to music, or whatever I choose to do. And it covers your head. It's huge, and it blocks all the sound out. And just, just try to, do that. All right. If you are interested in any of my books, the links of those are down below in the description. If you'd like this help support, I could use a lot of support now. My channel, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. The link to that is down below too. You can write me. My email address is down there too. The link, Leanne, LEEANN827@hotmail.com. If you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. That way you'll be notified each and every time a new video of mine comes out. It's 100% free, so stick around, take a chance, give it a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends, your family, on your social media platform. And I'd love to hear from you. And let me know how you deal with your anger, too. Hey, it's a two-way street. Let's have a conversation about it. Let me know. Maybe I'll ask it in a post. I'll ask, how do you deal with your anger?